Bax Music, what's up? I'm Ryan from D'Angelico Guitars, based in New York City. That over there is Justin Friedman, also from D'Angelico Guitars, based in New York City, although right now he's out in the natural world during quarantine. For those of you who don't know, I'll just remind you who D'Angelico is. So D'Angelico Guitars was started in 1932 on the Lower East Side of New York City by one man, John D'Angelico, who went on to become known as one of the greatest luthiers of all time. He essentially, oh wow, we got some feedback going on. Let me mute this.
Echo here.
I can hear myself. Very strange.
Should we pop headphones in?
No, I think I'm just gonna mute that and it should be okay.
Okay, awesome.
But yeah, as I was saying, D'Angelico was started in 1932 in New York City by John D'Angelico, went on to become an extremely famous luthier, is really up there in the canon of the great luthiers of all time. John really perfected the jazz arch top, you know, the big hollow body, at first fully acoustic and then later on electrified with a single mini humbucker or full humbucker depending on the guitar, and really built handmade instruments for the who's who of the day. The greatest jazz players of all time are those who really revere John's original instruments. He built from 1932 until 1964 when he passed away. And during that time, really only built a few more than 1,000 instruments. So there's not that many original D'Angelicos out there, highly coveted instruments, and truly works of art. They're instruments that we admire and we reference every day in our work. And so the company as it stands now really had the fortune to take over in 1999. We acquired the trademark and then relaunched the brand in 2011. And now we offer a full product line and are available in stores around the world. That includes everything from our jazz roots of archtop guitars and semi-hollows like the one that Justin has in his hands, up to solid bodies, flat top acoustics, and a variety of other instruments as well. We take our history very seriously. We reference John's instruments all the time. You can really see the history of John's work and the aesthetic of New York City in every instrument. In all the Art Deco details and our unforgettable headstock. It's something that we're extremely proud and very happy to have been able to take over. And we're psyched to be available in Europe and at Bax as well. And thanks for having us, and our apologies for not speaking Dutch. Hopefully there's many out there who are.
I heard they speak pretty good English over there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, everyone we're talking to is probably smarter than us because we're Americans who don't know more than one language.
We're getting a couple of comments, and I'm sorry guys, I just don't understand what you guys are saying.
That's okay. We have a translator.
We will figure it out.
What do folks want to know? Okay, well, while we wait for the translation, I will mention that
your questions will be answered.
Yes, I will mention that we are giving away one of these guitars. This is the premier Bedford in Army Green. So I should mention throughout this live stream, you should write in the comments why you deserve to win this guitar, and our friends over at Bax Music will decide if your reasons are worthy, in which case we will ship one of these bad boys out to you. Because we love you.
You got to give us a convincing story, though. I mean, you got to really know why you want it.
Yeah, I want like the equivalent to like a really good villain story. You know what I mean? Like in a Marvel movie. Like I want to know why this guitar is going to save your life.
Yeah, we want it to be loved. It's really, something that's really important to us. When John D'Angelico built his original instruments, every one of those 1,164 guitars were very loved by the owners. And for this Bedford we're giving away, we want to have that same effect. We want this guitar to go to a home where it's loved and played and cherished. So we want to hear from you, all the reasons why you're going to be that person today. And we're going to have fun reading all your comments, whether in Dutch or in English. We will find out the story.
That's right. So Martin, are you there? Are you speaking with anyone who might be able to tell us what these comments say? That is correct. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you trying to Google us. Thank you so much. I am Ryan. I'm the Vice President of Product Development at D'Angelico. I also had the pleasure to sort of start the Artist Relations program at D'Angelico when I first joined the company. And Justin Friedman is now Director of Artist Relations and Marketing. So I do a lot on the product side. I mean, I should say we all work together all the time. We're a very small, tight-knit crew, but I do a lot on the product side and work with some of our artists. And Justin works with a ton of our artists and also puts together initiatives and really cool partnerships with both artists and the programs and record labels and different social media outlets that they work with. So yeah, that's a little bit about us. Also, we're both guitar players. Justin, do you have a jazz degree under your belt? Is that what your degree is?
Jazz degree, but I have a music degree, and I took a lot of jazz classes, so I like to think it's like a jazz degree.
Justin's an intellectual musician, if you can't tell by the mustache. Very smart, knows his theory, and corrects me every time I play something that's wrong.
I'm not too good, but I'm getting there. The mustache gives me legitimacy, so I appreciate that. Speaking of which, speaking of the Netherlands, and speaking of cool brand partnerships, we actually have a challenge right now going on Instagram with our partners over at Chill Hop Music, which is this really cool lo-fi record label. They do like they sign a lot of cool producers and this kind of the underground lo-fi hip hop scene. And so we actually made a custom sample pack with them. Where basically all you have to do is download the sample pack, which can be found on our website in the news section, and you have to just make a beat using the samples in the pack. So some of those are pre-made guitar samples for those who aren't guitarists. But if you are a guitarist, you could plug a drum loop in to one of your to Logic or Ableton or whatever DAW you use and play guitar over it. And then for that, just hashtag the beat challenge on Instagram, and we're going to be going through all those entries as well. So there's another chance to win a guitar. And just participate in something that's really cool. And you know, our friends over at Chill Hop are pretty close to home for you guys. So, you know, it might be extra cool to get you guys all involved.
And that sample pack is through Splice, right?
No, so the sample pack is actually, we kind of partnered up with a lot of artists who play D'Angelico, who are also Chill Hop artists. So artists like, they're also big on Instagram, so like Chris Maswera, Bo Diakowitz, and all these kind of names that a lot of people must follow on Instagram. And this is like some of their first times where they've actually made samples for free that they're giving out for this pack. And it's really cool. And they're all playing their D'Angelicos in the pack. So it's something that's really exciting. And that's an example of something that I would do, that I do at D'Angelico, working with our artists to kind of do cool, fun initiatives. So yeah, go check it out.
Yeah, it's also a good opportunity to hear a little bit more of exactly what all of our products sound like. You can get a really good idea of what the guitars sound like when you're hearing them in high quality formats like this, instead of Google Hangs, where Justin and I are each playing guitar in our living rooms, which is why we're not playing too much.
Yeah, well, we'll show. We have a question coming in. What is your favorite guitar of all time?
Oh, baby!
I don't want to be that guy who just like says D'Angelico guitars are like my favorite guitar of all time because I work at D'Angelico, but they really are my favorite guitar of all time. I was a fan. My teacher growing up had an old original D'Angelico, it was an old style B, and you know, had I not played that guitar when I was a kid, I wouldn't have known about D'Angelico and probably wouldn't work for the company today. So I would say, you know, my favorite guitar of all time has got to be some of those older guitars that John D'Angelico made. But in terms of what we're doing today, a project that Ryan and I got to work on, you know, our CEO, originally we were just making solid bodies and originally we were making just hollow bodies and semi-hollows. And it was kind of more things that were along the lines of what John D'Angelico was doing back in the heyday. But we were actually tasked to design a solid body line, all proprietary. We basically started with a canvas, like we had nothing. And we you know, Ryan kind of led the charge to design the 4 solid body shapes that exist today. And it's just been so amazing because like we didn't know what was going to happen with them. We didn't know if they were going to be well received. There's so many traditional D'Angelico lovers who were like, oh, D'Angelico is coming out with solid bodies, like WTF. But, you know, kind of like putting them out in the world and seeing how they've been received over time, you know, especially something like Brian's holding in his hand, it's really cool, you know, how they kind of stand on their own, but they also still have that kind of old D'Angelico swag to them, you know, in terms of like the warmness of the tone and the way the slim neck, you know, the necks are all, you know, the neck profile is very similar to the neck profile we use on the arch tops. So there's a lot of things that feel at home with it, even though it's such a departure from what John D'Angelico was doing back in the day. So personally speaking, in terms of what we're making now, I really love the solid bodies. Just because they're like our babies, you know, they're like the next chapter for us, and they're something that we, you know, we're worked really hard on to bring into the world, and now are really starting to see all the success from them, you know, both on the sales side and with all the artists who are playing them all over the world.
Yeah, and then
you're in for the giveaway, but you need to tell us why you want to win the guitar. So
I'll answer real quick. My 2 favorite guitars are, I don't know if you guys can see this. Is this on camera, Justin? Can you see the SS behind me?
We can see it. Yeah, yeah.
So that's my first ever D'Angelico, and it's a deluxe SS. And I love it because it has like the acoustic woody thing, but then it also has these super nice custom Seymour Duncan 59 humbuckers in it, and they split coil as well. So it's a super versatile electric guitar as well. And I played it on stage for like 3 years straight. It was the only guitar I really played on stage. And you can't really tell right now through the Google hang, but like it's yellowed. It's like an old man now. It's gnarly. All the cream fixings are turning yellow, and the satin finish has turned really buttery soft. And it's just a guitar that has like a lot of love in it for me. And it kind of reminds me of when I first started playing the Angelicos, and it's an instrument I just completely fell in love with. And then the second one is a solid body in our line, which is the Bedford, because the Bedford for me is like the perfect combination of just familiar enough to what a guitar player's eye may have seen, but also just enough uniqueness that is referencing what makes D'Angelicos by bringing in a lot of the original aesthetics. And also it has like a personal origin story for me, because when I was first kind of given the project to design the solid bodies, I was living in this house full of musicians, which is the reason I moved to New York City in the first place, to Brooklyn. And we lived on Bedford Ave. And when I filed the trademark to name the guitar the Bedford, I was very happy to find out that name was available. And so now a small piece of my personal history lives, you know, on with the instrument as well. So sort of a selfish anecdote, if you will, but one that I care about nonetheless.
Yeah, totally. We have a couple of great questions coming in here as well. Let me just pull it up. From Ferdinand, is a modern D'Angelico much the same as the original 1000? I can start that answer and say, you know, not quite. You know, the original D'Angelicos were always like, they're always going to hold their own as, you know, probably the greatest archtop guitars of all time. Some people would say, including myself, they're the greatest guitars of all time. But that's for us fanatics. But the key proponent is we have done a lot of stuff to try to replicate exactly what D'Angelico was doing. And we have gotten really close to doing that. And that's been really exciting. But part of the idea when D'Angelico was making guitars, affordability was something that was really important to him. And what we are doing today is we're taking our favorite elements, both aesthetically and structurally, from those original D'Angelicos, and creating an instrument that is carries that legacy, carries that story of D'Angelico, and while borrowing a lot of like the key features that, you know, a lot of people overlook in the old guitars. So they're not going to be, you know, in terms of spec for spec, we've done stuff like that. It's not going to be at the price you know, what you'd be buying in our normal production line. If you want to look in our Master Builder series and collaborations we've done with some of like the top luthiers in New York and that sort of stuff, you would get close. But the idea is that we're building guitars that artists can really admire, and that so many people pick up, you know, the new D'Angelicos today, and then they want to go and learn more about the history and learn more about the old ones, and they get more into the boutique kind of style arch tops and the guitar lore that they carry. And that's what's been really cool. It's been the interest in the history of our brand has been, you know, growing and growing more over time the more we do. And what's so cool is, you know, I have an old D'Angelico from 1949, and then I have an EXL1 at home. And you sit and you put these guitars side by side in your lap, and they really, like, the way they sit, the way they feel, the weight balance, the headstock, the floating bridge, the scale length, like it's all the same. The tortoiseshell pickguard, the detail of the binding. So it's been amazing to see how much we've been able to carry over into the production line. And Ryan and I are always like looking, you know, we're always going through D'Angelico archives and photos and cool things and saying, oh, what could we do with, you know, because every guitar that D'Angelico built was different. There were no two that were alike. And that means there's so much to work with as, you know, guitar makers. Like what could we pull? What are the different elements of these guitars that we can pull and then make into something that we can make today? And so that journey is never ending. And one that I think is probably the most exciting part of our job. I don't know if there's anything more you wanted to add to that, Ryan.
Yeah, the only thing I would clarify is we take as many cues and as many construction details from John D'Angelico's original instruments as we possibly can. But if you look through guitar history, there are some things when guitars were first starting to get produced, really nice guitars were first produced, there are certain things that were back then affordable to do that nowadays, if you tried to do them, they would push the price of the guitar out of the range of affordability for the majority of people. And so it's a balancing act where we've tried to incorporate high quality materials that are still affordable. And one of the ways that we do that is we partner with a lot of incredible name brands that the original instruments, or even a lot of fine instruments on the market, they don't really do. So D'Angelico as a company now, we're not so obsessed with having everything be a D'Angelico component. We know there are companies who do some incredible work and we incorporate them onto our instruments. So if you look at our deluxe series, we have custom pickups from Seymour Duncan and TV Jones and Lawler, like the best names in the industry. We have Jescar fretwire. We have Grover locking imperial tuners. And these are legendary companies that luckily do so much of what they do that we can incorporate them on our instruments and still have them be affordable. That's just such a huge priority for us, is like, you know, we're not making cheap instruments, but we don't want to make instruments that are so expensive that players can't get their hands on them. We really believe everyone deserves a D'Angelico, and a really nice one at that. So a lot of the spirit is exactly the same as the originals, but we've done some things to make them accessible to you. That's our goal.
Yeah, well said. I mean, it's and it's a load, like we can probably go on and on with that question. It's such a good question, and one we get asked, you know, every day. So thank you for asking that. We have another question that's asking us to do, can you guys do a guitar battle? We can. I mean, we you know, if you come to our showroom after hours, you know, some fun stuff goes on. We you know, we smash guitars at each other and like kind of duel with them. No, I'm just kidding. But I would love to have a guitar battle if I can actually see you in person right now, but we can't.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if you just want each of us to shred, unfortunately, we're not the right people for that. Justin can play you a beautiful fingerstyle piece, though.
Yeah, I mean, someone just asked can you play something for us? So I'll just show this guitar.
Let's demo each of the guitars real quick and talk about it.
Yeah, so this here is our premier DC model in champagne. So I don't know if you can see in the camera, but it kind of has this, it's kind of this off-white finish, but it has this nice subtle sparkle to it. It's not like, it's just subtle enough where like where you look at it, it's like a really cool feature. You have this is the stair step tailpiece, kind of going back to the last question. This is kind of a trademark of the D'Angelico design, this like floating tailpiece. It also comes in a stop bar if you're more of like a 335 traditionalist. Oh, I said 335. Oh shit. You have this this kind of tortoiseshell pick guard with all the binding going on. That was another thing I referenced before. And then you have these gorgeous mother of pearl inlays, and then the classic D'Angelico headstock with the aluminum skyscraper truss rod cover.
And Seymour Duncan design pickups.
And the Seymour Duncan designs pickups, which sound, beautiful. I'm just going to play in the neck pickup here, and I'm going to play a little bit of jazz. I think someone actually asked to play a little bit of jazz, and I think someone asked how you play jazz, which I'll get to later. But I'll play a little bit of like Stella by Starlight, so you guys can hear kind of the warmness of this guitar, because that's what I'm drawn to it about it. So.
Lovely. By the way, I'm not getting any YouTube comments over here unless I have it set up wrong, in which case I apologize. But seems like Facebook's pretty active.
I'll send you the link, Ryan, so you can in the chat, so you can.
Oh, it's all good. So, okay. Good question. So one of the benefits to working at a guitar company is occasionally you get to bother the owner of the company into, getting a guitar here or there. And then we also can purchase them at pretty good prices as well. So I have way too many guitars. My girlfriend is upset with me about that. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I have probably like in the range of 12 to 14 guitars, if I had to guess. What about you, Justin?
Oh, that's a great question. Everyone always like assumes that I have, I would say I have around 10 guitars, that I have. But the thing is like, we live in New York City. And so we don't have like a ton of space in our apartments to like have a ton of guitars. And we're in the office, we're in the show. So we work in this like really cool showroom. If any of you guys ever come to New York, please hit us up at guitars.com so you can come check it out. But it's basically like this giant man cave of just like hundreds of guitars. And we all love what we do. So we're always there. So it's kind of like, I almost spend more time in the showroom than I do at my house. So there's no need for me to bring, if I ever want to, borrow a guitar for a recording session or something, I usually just borrow one from the showroom. That's part of the luxury of, working at the company. So I basically like to think that all those guitars at the showroom are my guitars. And then someone comes in and like wants to buy one and it leaves the showroom we send it off with an artist. And I feel like I lose a guitar every time and it makes me really sad. But
half the reason that I have
show up and you fall in love with the ones that show up. And so, but the short answer is I have about 10 guitars.
Just to get down to it, I got about.
But yes, I guess that's a lot though. I mean, 10 guitars. I mean, I don't know. How many guitars do you guys have? Just remember that we're giving away guitars. So if you say you have 50 guitars, you might want to not say anything.
Now they're just gonna lie. And say they have 0 guitars. No lying.
Be honest. Someone be honest. Like, okay, this guitar would literally be amazing because I'm a small 14-year-old producer. I now play on a, I don't know, shitty 2010 off-brand guitar. So that would be crazy. What brand is the guitar?
Yeah, let's do some trashing of other brands. I think that's important.
We love trashing other brands.
While we're here, real quick, I'm going to talk about the giveaway guitar for a second.
Yes, let's do it.
So for those of you who don't know, this is the Premier Bedford in Army Green, and it's a speedy offset. Kind of looks like it was designed in the 60s. It has these deep cutaways for top fret access, super comfortable offset body that rests right on your leg or comfortably on your shoulder as well. And then its electronic setup is a stacked single coil from Seymour Duncan Designs, stacked single coil in the neck, and then a full humbucker in the bridge. You got a 3-way toggle switch to get through those. Both naturally like very meaty sounds because this is a stacked single coil and this is a full humbucker. But what's cool down here on your tone controls, can you see that? On the tone controls, you got volume, volume, tone, tone, and these are push-pull tone knobs so that you can actually split your coils. So your humbucker, when you're on the bridge position, you can split it and go to a single coil pickup. And then when you're on your neck position, you can pull your tone knob and it goes from a stacked sound, which is really like noiseless and a little fatter, to an open sounding true single coil. So it's actually an extremely versatile guitar. You get quite a range of tones on it. And then I'll say about the back, it has a super comfortable, like slim C-shaped neck to it. It's about 20 millimeters at the first fret and 22 up at the 12th. And it's featuring a satin unfinished back of the neck, natural steel wool, and it makes a world of difference. It's just super comfortable on your hands. So you get kind of this nice moment where you go from the gloss body to the natural maple on the back of the neck there. And then you got really important. What'd you say?
I said that's got to be my favorite part about the guitar.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just walk you through the tones real quick. So this is neck single coil stacked. And that has a little overdrive on it, I should mention, because everything sounds better with a little bit of overdrive. But then if you pull and expose and drop off the dummy coil so that you have a proper neck single coil, it sounds a bit different. So you can hear that it gets a little pointier and becomes just a little bit more of a true single coil. And if you throw a lot of volume on that, you can get a really thwacky, kind of traditional single coil sound. Here's the split setting, or the shared setting, I'll say, from the neck and the bridge. This is my favorite setting on the guitar because you have the real warmth of the neck single coil, but you get a little more power from the bridge bucker. So a lot of warmth there, really, really open and comfortable. And then if you're playing like rockier stuff or if you need to take a lead line or something, then you've got the bridge humbucker as well, which is nice. And I'll just demo like some kind of faster, more aggressive stuff there. So you can do like your angular and more acute sounding stuff with that. So again, very, very versatile guitar. And then if you want to hear clean tones as well, which is, not too different, but we can just make it sound really nice and pretty. It's a great guitar. It's comfortable as hell, and it does everything that you could possibly need it to do. There's that. There you go. How are we doing on Facebook, Justin? We got more questions over there?
Well, I just want to remind you, for those who are just tuning in, so we are giving away the guitar that Ryan is holding in his hands. And the way we're going to choose the winner is basically we want to hear reasons why we should give this guitar to you. So, be creative with your story, be truthful, but be creative, and tell us why you deserve to have this guitar. And we're going to be going through those comments, and we'll be picking one at the end of the stream. And and so if you don't speak English, that's okay. You can write it in Dutch. We will get it translated. Not a problem.
No problem.
But yes, and we apologize that the stream sound quality isn't that good. But we're living in strange times today.
Did we get complaints about the sound over here? I'm sorry, man.
Most people, a lot of people loved. A lot of people wanted to even use that progression in your song.
So, hey, you got it. I don't know what it was, so it's yours.
We had a question. What is our favorite artist? But we're getting some good stories here.
Wow. Yeah, we have a lot of stories with this one. Man, one of my favorite artists to work with, and seems like an obvious answer, but we have the pleasure of working with the legend Bob Weir, who obviously was one of the founding members of Grateful Dead, now plays in Dead & Co. with John Mayer and the rest of the Dead gang, and has a killer solo career as well. But Bob is, if you haven't seen me talk about hanging out with Bob somewhere else on the internet, I'll make this short, but Bob is just one of those people who was born on another planet and has ideas just pouring out of his head at all times. And I feel extremely lucky that he shares those ideas with me, because it's not every day you get to, hear the ideas of a legend. But there have been many times where, I live on the East Coast, Bob lives on the West Coast, so he's 3 hours behind. But sometimes even when he's not on the West Coast, if he's on tour or something, I'll get a text message that I'll see in the morning when I wake up that Bob sent at like 3 a.m. after he got off stage, wherever he was, Hollywood Bowl or MSG or something. And he's like, hey, I've got about 50 new ideas for a new instrument. And I was reading about, how physics are altered, in black holes. And that made me really think about how we might want to, switch up our electronics so that they behave differently with the transistors that are underneath large stages. And it's just one of those things that you would never think of on your own. And I'm very happy to say that in the time that I've been at the company, we've co-designed 2 instruments. The newest Bob Weir signature model is a version of the Bedford, the Bob Weir Bedford, which is one of the coolest guitars that I've had the pleasure of putting together. And yeah, he's the smartest and trippiest dude that I've ever had a relationship with. And he's the man. We're honored to work with him. So big shout out to Bob.
Totally. Yeah. Just to, elaborate on what Ryan said too, is what's cool is when we get to work with all these artists, some of which who sell out stadiums, they're all just people who just are always experimenting with new gear and new tone. Like they're no different from all of you guys. At the end of the day, guitar players are all guitar nerds, and they're always looking for ways to have their tone adapt and change. And that's what's so cool when we get to work with artists like Bob Weir, or if it's just, one of my favorite artists, Kurt Rosenwinkel, for example, with on the jazz side, they all kind of come together when they're in search of, something tonally and or aesthetically, or how it feels, on stage or in their lap or whatever. And so it's so cool. It's something people take for granted with these larger artists. They're just guitar lovers like all of us, and they're also looking to, advance their sound and change. So that's really cool when we get to work with artists like that.
It's also awesome when you get a window into the world of the music that they're working on, and you get to learn from that. Like Kurt Rosenwinkel's a perfect example of like, I don't hold a candle to the way that guy plays guitar. Very few people do, but every single time he comes to the showroom and hangs out with me and Justin for a few hours or an afternoon, both Justin and I leave with new ideas on the instrument, new patterns, new shapes, new ways of thinking about harmony and all that stuff. And Kurt is just one of those people who, like, his journey with music is never ending. He's always looking to expand. So it's pretty rad to be able to take cues from him and learn from his journey. It's pretty rad.
What kind of music do you guys like? please write in the comments. I'm curious, who we're talking to here. We'd love to know. We also got a really interesting story of a comparison to the guitar. One I haven't heard before. I'm going to read it for the group. The guitar is just as green as the Hulk, approximately, parentheses, and makes the same impression on the audience. If you see this guitar, you can tell if you hear it, especially in combination with my other band members. This guitar is even stronger than the Hulk. This guitar is only much less heavy than the Hulk. Instrument to carry around your shoulder for an entire evening. I don't know, Ryan. Should we? I think we should. We might have to change the description on the website.
Yeah.
No. Because I was kind of losing you. No offense, but then when it got to the guitar is much less heavy than the Hulk, it all started making sense to me because I wasn't thinking about the Hulk right away when I see that guitar, but it's kind of like
I would say it's a little subtler than the Hulk. The Hulk's pretty bright green, but I agree with you on all other points.
He might be a comic. I don't know if he's talking about the comic books or there's been so many Hulks out there.
What do they say? Customers always right. So whoever that is.
Yes, whatever that is.
Hulk now.
And we're changing the color Hulk green.
Hulk green, done.
Oh, he sent an updated one. Let's see. Oh, he just.
We have someone live photoshopping?
No. He kind of just Flores. Shout out to Flores for this great comparison. He looks like he just kind of copied and added another. You guys never answered my question. What type of music do you guys play? Oh, let's hear it. Cool.
Nice. Oh. Oh, throw it in the chat. Guys, we have a winner. This is extremely exciting.
Cool.
Oh, I thought you were going to put it in the hang chat. All right. Congratulations, Liam.
Liam.
Phew! Not a boy, Liam. I'm excited for you, man. I hope you enjoy it.
Oh, cool. We got a lot of great answers. We have people who are into jazz, pop, jazz, fingerstyle. Okay. You're speaking my language, people. I like it. I like it. We got rock as well. So cool. Well, these guitars are great for that too. And I wanted to just show you guys really fast. I was playing before on the neck pickup doing more jazzy stuff. But if you now if I whip into the shared setting here, the thing could really bite, which is so cool.
And we should mention we have really great demos and videos up with some of the artists that we talked about earlier and a whole bunch of other really great players. Those are all on d'angelicoguitars.com on the product pages. So if you go to any of the guitars, you'll be able to find an artist demo at the bottom. And they're also all over our YouTube channel too. My personal history lives, on with the instrument about earlier, and a whole bunch of other really great players. Those are all on D'Angelico on the product pages. So if you go to any of the guitar, you'll be able. Is that from you, Justin?
I got it. We're good.
Oh, my lovely girlfriend has come into the room to show me that she can see the comments on her YouTube, but I wasn't able to see them on mine. Wow, we have a lot of stuff here. Anything in English?
Yeah.
Oh, how many guitars do you both have? He asked
What's
that
your
one.
advice on stretching?
Oh, what's your advice on stretching your fingers? Sweet. So, tennis balls. I used to have tendonitis. This is a great question, and it's one I take seriously. Tendonitis will end your guitar playing career, so you have to respect it. You got to make sure you stretch. So just take a tennis ball. I don't have one here right now, but take a tennis ball and just in between each of your fingers, just get that webbing going. Makes a world of difference. And then also 15 seconds of this one and 15 seconds of this one. And try not to play before you're stretched out. Definitely get your hands moving a little bit before you play. And also, I got a great piece of advice from my friend Johnny Coe, who is on tour in the band Lawrence. Well, he was on tour before the world stopped. He suggests all the time, keep an eye on your left hand, because sometimes you're working way harder to fret or to finger a chord when really you could relax your fretting hand quite a bit. It's just that you're putting pressure on yourself to play the chord correctly, so you give it a death grip. But if you just relax and remember that you know exactly that position, it goes a long way for saving your fretting wrist as well. How do I improve speed on guitar? I'm not the best person to answer this, but I do know a fair bit about it from the artists we work with. I would say economy of your right hand and your left hand is the best thing you can do. So you need to have proper picking technique with an anchored pinky below the strings. You got to make sure you're holding your pick correctly. And frankly, practicing with a metronome and slowly increasing the BPM. One of my best friends is a phenomenal bass player, and I never understood how he could just rip 16th notes on the bass until I lived with him after college and realized that almost every morning he played to a metronome, slowly ticking up the BPM until he was a ripper. And that's all there is to it.
Yeah, totally. Definitely a metronome is going to be your best friend in that area. And don't try to speed it up too fast. I mean, like, you know, pick an exercise, whether it's just and start that on, like, you know, put the metronome on like 70 and then do it back every day for 2 weeks. And then in 2 weeks, bump it up 5 BPM. And then after 6 months, you're ripping at, you know, 100 BPM, and all of a sudden all this stuff that was so hard for you is now much easier. So definitely have patience. I'm not a fast player myself, so this is something that I'm working on.
There's one other really cool question in here too, which is, what kind of amps do you guys use? Have you ever thought about switching to a Kemper? So this is something Justin and I have noticed with our artists in the past